Hey everyone, it's Natalie Desimoni, again, your instructor for the course. And I wanted to walk you through a few PowerPoint slides here going over the idea of self-concept, self-awareness, and what that means in your own career discovery and major discovery process. So in front of you, you see a chart illustrating the career development process. And the first piece you'll see here is self-assessment. And that is exactly what this class is called and what we're going to be focusing on for the next 8 weeks. And as I mentioned before, we're going to look at your interests, your skills, your personality, your values, lifestyle, meaning like what do you do with your free time, what kind of lifestyle do you want to lead, and your decision-making style, right? We all make decisions a little differently, and having some awareness of how you make decisions, sometimes good, sometimes bad, can help you make better ones in the future. The next piece is research, and we will do research in this class as well. Websites, professional associations, I have some really good resources for you guys to get a better understanding of the ins and outs of the different careers you're considering. So the good, the bad, what does it really mean to do X profession all day? What does it mean to be a firefighter all day, a teacher? What's it mean to be a 6th grade teacher versus a kindergarten teacher? So just doing some really good research so that you get more information to make a better decision. Third piece, trying out the career. And that is huge. I cannot stress this enough. This isn't really something we'll get into in this course, but it is vital to making a really good decision and really understanding the career fields you're considering. So if you can volunteer, work part-time, job shadow somebody, that is the most powerful thing you can do to make the right decision. Because sometimes when you're living in something, it opens your eyes to things you can't really read about on paper or learn about on the internet. And it can really help make or break a decision for you. So some people decide, I really want to work in the medical field, and they volunteer at a hospital and they realize, man, I love this environment. I am motivated here. I want to help people. And then other people might realize, wow, I hate the sight of blood. I don't like working around sick people. This is really stressful. I'm really glad I spent some time here before I went all the way through and got my nursing degree or something like that. So those are really important pieces. Last but not least, job search. And again, we won't get into that here, but it will be creating a resume, a LinkedIn account, an online portfolio, getting yourself ready for the world of work and getting ready to apply for positions and interview. So that is the kind of bird's eye view of the career development process. I wanted to give you that reference and kind of seeing that you guys are here, right? And we're going to spend a little time here. Okay, moving on. Okay, college, success, and self-awareness. So what does self-awareness mean, right? Well, self-awareness is really understanding yourself better. What are your strengths and weaknesses? What are your preferences? What motivates you? What drains you? And that's what these assessments are going to tap into, specifically into how they help you in the world of work. Okay? And so the facts are that people view themselves through their work. Okay, so when you meet new people, oftentimes one of the first discussions you get into is, what do you do for a living? And so people do view themselves through their daily work. Work satisfaction and life satisfaction depend on the extent to which our work and life provide adequate outlets for our interests, our abilities, our personalities, and our values. Okay, so if you're in a job and it doesn't tap into any of those pieces of who you are, that's when you're not happy. That's when you're fighting against your preferences. You are unmotivated because you're just not connecting to what you do. It doesn't get you out of bed every day. Okay? And it's important to think about who you are and what you want. Where are you now? What personal experiences brought you to college? Made you decide to take this course? Maybe you already know your major. What made you choose that? And really think about your current stage of current life development. And that's what kind of Focus 2 is getting you to start to think about a little bit. So Donald Super was a psychologist, and he came up with the term self-concept, or the self-concept theory. And here are what his thoughts are. We differ in abilities, interests, and personalities. So if we were all in a classroom together, that would be clear, right? We're all going to have different strengths and weaknesses. We're all going to have different interests. And what that leads to is that what a dream job for one person might be could be a nightmare for another. Okay, might pay well, might have great benefits, great environment, but to some people that would be stifling, and to other people it would be completely motivating. And that's the whole point, right? We aren't all meant to do one thing or, go into a certain field because it's hot right now. It's really about you and what you're going to connect with. Every occupation has its own set of characteristics, abilities, interests, and personality traits as well, right? So the characteristic and patterns involving being a teacher is different than that of being a financial analyst. Okay? So you're going to find different types of people in those fields. Everyone is qualified for several occupations. Yes, absolutely. I can't stress this enough. Maybe you're not seeing some of the things you've been considering popping up in your Focus 2 results. And you're like, oh my gosh, I always thought I was going to be a teacher and it's not even close. That's okay. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be a teacher. Okay, we're all qualified to do different things. But it's just about understanding yourself and knowing whether or not certain environments are going to be a good fit for you. Vocational preferences and skills change over time. Absolutely. It used to be generations before, people who were finishing high school and college in the 50s and 60s and 40s would get a job, work in that job for 30 years, and retire from that job. And that is very much not the case anymore. Current generations, millennials, and a little bit of Gen X, which is the generation before millennials, they change careers and jobs more than any other generation before them. So it's pretty rare that anyone starts with a specific organization when they finish their education and stay there the whole time. So that's just, people have more freedom to make big changes now. So you might find that you have 2 or 3 major happy careers over your lifetime. And it's interesting to think about, what's the first job you ever wanted? What does that tell you about yourself? When I was young, I used to make my younger brother play school. I had an easel, I made worksheets, I made him take tests. I don't know why he agreed to do it, but here I am teaching. And, did I graduate from college and go right into teaching? No, that's not what happened. My career has had lots of different pathways, but it's interesting to think back to, that was a childhood thing for me. I'm currently in a job that I love, that I will stay in probably till I retire. And that is what I was doing as a kid. So think about that a little bit. I think it's always fun. Donald Super also kind of created as a visual what he called the career life rainbow, okay? And let me show you a visual here real quick. This is his career life rainbow. Now you're gonna see, you've got, of course, your growth stage, right? We've all been through that. And then exploration, ages 15 to 24. Now, I would argue that I think this rainbow needs to be updated. I think that I find a lot of adults in their late 20s, early 30s even, are still in the exploration stage. That is the trend of the current generation of millennials. So if you find yourself over the age of 24 and thinking, wait a second, I'm still here, am I behind? No, I don't think so at all. I think that the establishment stage needs to be bumped back. Okay, I know that for myself, I've worked in education, I've worked in corporate, but I was still very much kind of in exploration until my 30s. I mean, I was working in full-time solid jobs, but I never found the ultimate place I wanted to be until my mid-30s. So I think this is interesting to look at, but also to know that there's some shifts in our culture. Maintenance stage, right? So you get to the point where you've landed where you're probably going to be, not always, but probably, and that's where you maintain and move up and things like that. Okay. Now it's also important to think about that, your career pattern is not just affected by those things we're discussing, your personality and your interests and who you are, but there's also, where did you grow up? What income level did you grow up in? What socioeconomic level? Who were your parents? What subjects are you strong in and what subjects are you weak in? and exposure to opportunities. And that is one of the reasons I think a class like this is so important, because we all have careers we know based on how we live, right? I know what a doctor does, we know what a fireman does, police, someone at the bank, you know what your parents do, you know what your siblings do, your family does. But there's so many amazing types of work out there that I think just exposure to those different careers existing is one of the great pieces of taking a class like this. You might discover a field you didn't even know existed by doing some research through this course. All right, let's talk a little bit about career satisfaction and why you guys are going to be hopefully ahead of the game. 72% of the nation's workforce is unhappy. Okay, so that's done by an organization called Gallup, which is a national polling organization. They do like presidential polls and things, but they also do kind of sociological polls. And so the part of the reason for that is that a lot of people, adults, said that if they were starting over, they would get more information about career options. So a lot of people jump into a career because that's what their family did, or they heard that you could make good money, and so they figured that was a good option. And they didn't take any time to understand who they were, what different jobs were out there, and then they find themselves in something that isn't satisfying. And that's what I'm hoping you in this course can avoid by understanding yourself better and doing career research. And 64%, 64% of college seniors said they had serious doubts they chose the right major. Okay, now, hopefully, again, this course will help you pick a major you is right for you. But I will say this, that most people don't end up working in fields directly related to their bachelor's degree. Now, associate degrees can be different because they're often technical in focus and lead to something technical. So mechanic, nurse, biotech, but bachelor's degrees sometimes, like if I look at my close-knit group of friends from college, there's one of us who does something related to their major. So my friend Travis was a psych major. He's a psychologist now and has been since he got his PhD. The rest of us are all doing well and happy, but none of us are really doing anything related to what we got our bachelor's degree in. So getting your bachelor's degree, it's not always about the topic. It's about the transferable skills and the things you learn just by being a college student. And that'll get more into skills later. And last but not least, having a career that fits, right? So having a job that you enjoy going to each day is going to mean better health, longer life, right? So stress wreaks havoc on our body. We all know that. If you go somewhere every day that causes you great stress, that is going to have an effect on your health. You're going to have more enhanced personal and professional relationships. So if you're in a job you like, you're going to be surrounded by people who probably share your interests, and therefore you're going to have pretty decent work relationships. I worked at a finance firm for a while doing internal communications, and it was a lovely place to work, and I was well compensated, but everyone there was focused on the stock market. And I have no interest in that. I wish I did. I'd have a lot more wealth, but finance and economics is not a topic that I want to read about or learn about necessarily. And so I found myself surrounded by very lovely people, but not people that I'm going to necessarily have a lot in common with. Okay, so just different focuses on life. As opposed to now, my counselor coworkers, we have a lot in common. I enjoy many of them. We socialize outside of work, things like that. More successful and productive. So obviously when you love what you do, you're going to want to keep getting better at it. That just means you're going to get promoted and continue to do better. Better self-esteem. That's pretty self-explanatory. You're leading a life that counts to you and you're looking forward to life. So I think this just provides a good overview of like, what's the point of this class? Why are we taking all these assessments? What is this really gonna do for me? And the key is just self-awareness, self-concept. Who am I? What do I want? How can I make sure that when I finally land in my career, it's going to be something that fulfills me,